Hello and welcome to the Sunday Guardian show. Viewers, as you know, a lot is happening in South Asia, or rather the Indian subcontinent, as we prefer to call it, in terms of terrorism and unrest, military flexing its arms, the illegal takeover of the Bangladeshi power system. What we are witnessing also is happening a lot of trouble in terms of the Balochis. They are causing a lot of trouble for the Pakistani military state because you see, even though they have some kind of a, I would say, a sham government, sham elected democratic government, but they are in actually major trouble. Now, to discuss all this and much more, I have a very special guest with me. He's Ajay Singh. He has come to my show earlier as well. He is an author of 7 books, including fiction and poems, but his specialty is military history and contemporary warfare. Welcome, Mr. Singh, to the Sunday Guardian show.
Thanks, Joyeeta. Always a pleasure being on your show and having a little tete-a-tete in which we discuss the. I've realized our discussions go all over the place with a focused agenda. That's what makes it interesting.
So tell me what exactly is going on with Pakistan and this Baloch rebel business before we move over to
Okay.
other areas of Pakistan itself.
See, you see the Baloch movement, like, I wouldn't say anything new is happening. We have had a train hijack of the Jafar Express, which is the first time that the Baloch freedom fighters, I will call them freedom fighters because they are freedom fighters, in which they have captured and hijacked an entire train, held it hostage for almost 48 hours. And as per the Pakistani army, they killed all the so called terrorists on board. They released all the hostages and they claimed the success. You know, the thing should have finished out there, but if you take a look at it, there are a lot of discrepancies in what has been claimed and what has come out. One of the discrepancies in the Sunday Guardian show itself was, I noticed, the hostages who were released, supposedly to be rescued by the Pakistani army, all had one thing they said. They said they took us, they put us out, the old women and children, and told us you walk back along the tracks, your railway next station is out there. So were they released or were they rescued? The other thing is, the Pakistani army claims it was to a major counter-terrorist success. But if you look at the train, if you look at the fact that it was such an immaculately planned operation, you know, the lack of collateral damage, I'm glad there were no loss of needless life, but the lack of collateral damage, I would say, is a little suspicious. The figures would be maybe a little increased or decreased, and the actual truth would lie someplace in between. But notwithstanding the loss of lives or the damage or the collateral damage, the important point is we are speaking on it today. Your viewers are watching it on different channels. Has been the fact that the Baloch freedom fighters have actually hijacked an entire train. This is, I would, a significant moment in the freedom struggle. And remember, it is not a year-long freedom struggle. It's a freedom struggle going on since 1948. And you take a look at the backdrop, Balochistan, rather the Khan of Kahat, was promised independence on the 14th of August when Pakistan got independence by Jinnah himself. They were given independence for exactly 227 days. On the 228th days, the Pakistani army moved in. They coerced them into agreeing to join Pakistan. They joined it. The freedom struggle began in 48, 1953, in 1973 and 2006, and has been going on even today. Only it has intensified so much.
So, would you say that this particular operation, I mean, the buzz is intelligence reports are saying that Pakistan has suffered a major setback. Is that the case in terms of loss of lives? Soldiers' lives, they have lost a lot.
Yes. Just read between the lines. Let's take this as one major instance. The very next day, a Pakistani security convoy was hijacked. It was ambushed, killing 9. In Waziristan, another security post was attacked, and again casualties all around. So suddenly, what you are seeing there is that the struggle has intensified so much more in the past few years. What makes it, I would say, this would be worrying for the Pakistanis, definitely not worrying for us, is the fact that all actions seem to be coordinated between the TTP and the Baloch Liberation Army. They have got two different areas of operation, but the actions show a great degree of coordination because a strike by one is invariably followed by a strike by the other.
Has it
So,
happened in this case?
yes, if you take a look at
How?
it, the day that I think 13th of May, the train was hijacked. 13th of March, the train was hijacked. And the very next day, on the 14th, there was a convoy which was ambushed. And the next day, there was checkpost in Waziristan which was attacked, in which Pakistan themselves announced a captain was killed, and I think 4 or 5 security people killed out there. So both parties are wanting deliverance from Pakistani oppression, which has been going for so many years. And very honestly, I find it difficult to sympathize with Pakistan's predicament because the classic case of the chickens coming home to roost.
Now, the thing is that you see, when you're talking about some kind of coordination taking place between Taliban, the TTP, and the Baloch fighters, I think it has happened earlier also. If you remember the attack on that Chinese convoy to that took
Yes,
place in the northern area by apparently by the TTP, and at the
yes,
same time, the Baloch were also attacking the Chinese in Quetta.
in
There
Quetta
was a
and
hotel
Karachi,
bombing.
effective. Yes,
So the thing is that when we are looking at this sort of a coordination, it's interesting to see that China is also now being targeted
uh-huh.
by these groups. What exactly is going on over here?
Thanks, Joyita. You brought a wonderful aspect. What is it that's getting the Chinese all riled up? The answer to that is one word: the CPEC, and more significantly, Gwadar Port and the road leading from Gwadar down to the Xinjiang province in China, which goes through most of Balochistan, enters Punjab, and then goes and joins China. Right? When the Chinese announced Gwadar Port, the jewel in the crown of the CPEC, if I can call it that, it was told to the Baluchis, this is your engine for growth. With this, all of you will be, there will be investments coming in, you will have wealth flowing in, etc., etc., etc. It was something like what was done to them for the past 70 years. The ruling elite of the Punjabi Pashtun elite have promised the Baluchis a great deal, but they have systematically exploited. Similarly, when Gwadar came about with a lot of fanfare, the locals thought they would get jobs. The local thought they would be able to open small businesses. Gwadar is a huge failure. As you know, it's an airport in which no aircraft land, but that's a different story. But even in the development of the port and the airport next to it, it was Chinese laborers who were utilized. It was Chinese companies that came in there. Even you see, a project like this, the ancillary spin-offs go to the locals always. There will be transporters, there would be cement suppliers, there would be steel suppliers, but everybody came either from China, or the contracts were given to maybe a small coterie of Punjabi elite who had obviously the links to the right places. There's a saying out there: the only benefit of this road and the port to the locals was they could establish puncture repair shops on the highway and open dhabas on the way. The fact that they felt that they are now being exploited repeatedly is what got anger against the Chinese. Also, there were reports a lot of high-handedness by the Chinese against the locals. And that is why the Chinese were targeted by the Baloch freedom fighters. Now, as you know, Joyeeta, you brought it so correctly, the Chinese were attacked, the consulate was attacked in Karachi, in Quetta, the buses was attacked, the port was attacked itself, in which some laborers were killed. The Pakistani chief had to go to Beijing himself and give a personal assurance, a guarantee that they would protect Chinese interests. They deployed 2 full divisions to protect the road. You know, if they deploy 3 times the strength, I'm a military person, I know those kind of that difficult, rugged, mountainous terrain going through nowhere, they will still not be able to prevent attacks. So, one of the biggest casualties of the intensification of this freedom struggle has been China's CPEC. And honestly, it is nothing. I think none of us are going to spill tears over that.
Yes. No, we are not. Definitely not. Now, the question is yes, I mean, it is a case of chickens coming home to roost for Pakistan. Now, when it comes to, we are talking about, post to the hijacking of the train, when we are looking at the situation, what is going on right now, it seems a major crackdown has started in Balochistan, where their leaders are being rounded up, attacked. So, do you think this movement, this thirst for freedom is headed in any particular direction that will actually ensure their independence, number one? And when we are looking at it, would you say the international community is going to come forward and say something, about that, why Balochistan needs to be liberated? And yeah,
Okay.
of course, another question can be in terms of how much control has the Pakistan army lost when it comes to Balochistan? How much control have
Excellent.
they lost of Balochistan?
Super. Thank you, Joyeeta. Thank you. I'm going to answer from a military point of view, right? One is you say that Pakistan has launched the operation. In 2013, when the TTP attacked the school in Peshawar, the army public school in Peshawar, and they killed 145 innocent children. That was the first time the army really got the act together and they launched Zarb-e-Azab, an operation which was a concentrated operation which went on for 2 years. And at that moment, yeah, it broke the back of the TTP for some time to come. Now, the Pakistani army is stretched thin across its entire western borders from Waziristan to Balochistan. In fact, they should be grateful. The only peaceful border they have is along the LOC with India. We are their most peaceful neighbor. They'll admit it, of course. So, will they have the capacity to launch an operation with so much sustenance? Let me put it like this. It's not an operation. They will launch raids on hideouts. They will attack terrorists. No. Counter-insurgency operations are measured in months and years. And its success will not be determined by the military. Its success will be determined when the military establishes an environment through which a political situation can be resolved. That will has never been there in Pakistan. So the military operation will be a knee-jerk operation. They will have initial gains, of course, but can they sustain it? And that is why, plus with Waziristan also blowing up, you're talking about an entire western border which is erupting in it's not in low-level insurgency any longer. It's high level of insurgency which is going on there. Compound that to the terrain in that area. It is not Punjab. It is rugged mountains, very poor lines of communication, isolated posts, no information coming across. You need to maintain garrisons in different locations. So they will be stretched very thin in trying to even establish some measure of their authority in these areas.
What about Pakistan Iran relations, and what about Pakistan Afghanistan relations in this?
Let me first let's take Afghanistan. Okay, when the Taliban came into Afghanistan, when they came into Kabul, as you know, the first person to reach Kabul was the ISI chief, I think General Hamid at that time. And the nice photographs are there of him sipping tea with the Taliban, saying, "Na, now we are going to be brothers forever." Imran Khan was tweeting and coming on television saying, "No, now they have won a great victory against the oppressors. Now Pakistan and Afghanistan are brothers," and worse effect. That Bonhomme, it was staring at them in the face. It blew up within not even a year, within months. The TTP is a franchisee, if not an active arm of the Afghan Taliban. The agenda of the Taliban is to establish Islamic rule in Afghanistan, which they have succeeded doing. Their franchisee now wants to establish that same version of Shariat law in Pakistan. That's next in the agenda. And the stepping stone to that lies through Waziristan. Waziristan, as you know, when the Afghan war was going on, the Pakistanis were giving sanctuary to the IS and the Taliban fighters to take rest in Peshawar and Pakistan, go to Afghanistan, conduct the attacks, and come back again for sanctuary out there. Now the shoe's on the other foot, because the Taliban are giving sanctuary to the TTP to launch the attacks into Pakistani territory, come back, take sanctuary once again. They make no bones of the fact that they do not recognize the Durand line. They don't even call it that. They call it the hypothetical line. A line drawn on a map by the British. The Taliban didn't recognize it. When the Pakistanis tried to fence it, they destroyed the fencing. There were artillery duels going on. And today, relations with the Taliban regime in Afghanistan and India are far better than the relations with the Pakistanis and Afghanistan for one simple reason. That hidden agenda which they had been following all these, not years, decades, it comes back. Our policy with Afghanistan was quite a straightforward one. We will help you in terms of humanitarian grounds. You look after interests and give us connectivity to Central Asia. Very, very fair. There is such a reservoir. I've spoken to so many Afghan officers who are doing different courses and all that. There's such a strong reservoir of goodwill towards India and such a strong feeling of hatred towards Pakistan in Afghanistan itself. So that has come back hard to bite it. As far as Iran goes, now you asked a very, very pertinent question about the future of Balochistan. As far as Iran goes, you remember China and, I beg your pardon, Pakistan and Iran have also exchanged missile strikes 2 years back. Yeah. When they said the Iranians accused the Pakistanis of sending terrorists into Iran. There was a missile exchange which fizzled out. That will remain dormant. Both of them are neither in a position to prosecute operations very violently. But will the Baluch freedom struggle find fruition? Well, again, as a military observer, taking a very dispassionate view, in a nutshell, no, it will not. For the simple reason, it's been going on for 70 years. They will not have the capability. Like I said, even announcing independence is one thing. To hold on to it in the face of an Pakistani army, which even today is strong enough to hold the country together. And honestly, as I would say, a watcher of the neighborhood, one would not like to see a nuclear armed state splinter completely. the repercussions for that will be too much. So even external powers like USA and China may not allow that state of affairs to happen. But the present state of affairs, where, like I said, Pakistan's most peaceful border lies with India, and at the same time, it is so engaged along its western front. This suits us because it prevents them from doing mischief on us.
Well, this is exactly my point. I mean, while we say that, let them be busy on the western border, but we do not see any let up in. Do you seriously believe that Pakistan is not making mischief? I mean, but it seems that not only we will go to Bangladesh now, of course,
Okay.
but before that, don't you think that they're trying to keep LOC restive? They're trying to keep India, that they're still trying to bleed India by 1,000 cuts?
Super, super. Trying is the word, yes. But to what extent? Aren't their capabilities diluted tremendously? They will want to have some level of action here because there's nothing that can unify their nation as much as the India hand. So may we have to be especially careful at the fact that they don't engineer some incident to evoke a response that will unify the nation against India. That is a card that has never failed. But their capabilities have reduced tremendously. Even the Kashmir after 370 and the manner in which the Indian army and the political government and the governance itself, there has been so many changes taken place. And I'm not talking about cosmetic changes. I'm talking about changes in the psyche of the people. You can, I've walked, I've been, I spent a night at my driver's residence in Anantnag at one time the hotbed of terrorism. The only conversation the family was telling them was they want a job, a government job. Somebody was saying their grouse was, there should be more investments coming. They had promised us an IIT in Srinagar, but they sent an IIT in Jammu instead. More investment should come out here. Phil, we will prosper more. So now the aspirations of the people there are more, which are the aspiration of all Indians, that our lot in life should improve along with the rest of the world. That is the change. So the little pinpricks will continue, but as long as we manage to keep this sentiment, which I'm very confident we will, continuing, we have won that battle of heart and mind, which is more important than the actual battle.
Now, obviously, I'm going to talk about Bangladesh, because you
Yes,
see, when it comes to Bangladesh, that's also a major pinprick, and actually that has Pakistan written all over it. They're trying to divide their relation. They have revived their
yes,
relationship with Bangladesh,
yes,
and the kind of, I would say, jihadi activities that are going on in that country, and the porous border that we share with that particular country, even though it is small, it has the potential and it has the capability to cause a lot of damage in terms to, at least to our civilian population and all. How can we tackle this problem? What is going on in the Bangladesh?
Joyita, you are absolutely right. Bangladesh at this point of time is it's more than a nuisance value. It's an actual danger because of the rise of radical elements inside Bangladesh. Pakistan will love to fish in troubled waters. Definitely. They have India's east, like I remember telling you, our their western borders are engaged. They would love to keep the engagement on our eastern. They would love to propagate the jihadis, the Islamists, fundamentalists out there, because that will ferment trouble in the northeastern states. They will continue doing that. But look at the situation inside Bangladesh itself. Observe it very subtly. As you know, already after the heady days, what they call it the movement now, which removed Sheikh Hasina, got Muhammad Yunus into power, and they say, okay, glory days are here again. There are no glory days. That country has gone into utter chaos after real politics has taken over after 6 months, when they realize electricity, which comes so much from India, is now being gradually shut off. The Adani plant is being shut off. Trade, which flowed so easily, which gave them so much, I think 13% of the GDP comes to the free flow of trade between India and Bangladesh. That is being reduced. Also, the jihadi, they are not getting the free run which they thought they will get. People are fed up with the writing, that complete breakdown of law and order. Now, the Supreme Court has the interim government has said we will hold elections in November, December of this year. The Supreme Court has passed a ruling in which it says the Awami League cannot be banned and it cannot be barred from contesting elections. Remember, after I said the output of anger has gone, the Awami League is the party with the maximum grassroots support in Bangladesh now. Sheikh Hasina may not come back, not may, most probably she will not come back, but the Awami party may be in the face of her son. Her son is seen as a moderate. Will he be the face of the Awami League and come back into Bangladesh all over again? That would not be too surprising at all. Take it from me.
No, but right
Also,
now, what? Yeah, please.
yeah, so you were saying something?
Yes, I was saying that, but you see what the attack is actually when you're talking about the Awami League. What is happening is that Yunus's people and basically all the so-called students and the Jamaat-e Islami students and all, it has become so bad in Bangladesh, from whatever I'm hearing, that anyone who is Awami League, that their first answer is that that person must be killed.
Yes.
Okay, so
Yes.
this is a sheer atmosphere of terror that is happening in Bangladesh. How
Yes.
will this particular party, or even otherwise, how can democracy return to Bangladesh?
There are two scenarios that are playing out now. One of the statements which is very telling are the statements being made by the army chief. I'm sure you'll be following that very much, in
Yeah,
which the
General Wakar.
yeah, General Wakar Zaman, he
Hmm.
has said his first statement was he warned about the law and order deteriorating. Now, today morning, he passed a statement saying that there are going to be severe terrorist attacks across the country in the coming week. He's got his people together. He's a strong chief. Now, they are talking about an army coup that may not happen. But subtly, the army is giving the message to the politicians that this total anarchy and breakdown of law and order may not be tolerated by them. And this breakdown of law and order is coming from whom? The students. That Nahid Islam, who is the one who was he was the poster boy of the movement, who was supposed to have removed Sheikh Hasina and got them into power. And now what did he do? Like I said, real politics is taken over. That interim government cracked when he left the interim government to form his own party called the National Citizens Party. Now, they are also accusing now the present government of not doing enough. Are you seeing how the fissures are opening up within themselves? These are good and bad, because the fissures opening up would mean greater anarchy within the nation, which could go out of hand. The other is they are still a lot of sensible people. The army at the moment is still playing a very sensible hand in this. Muhammad Yunus himself is trying to get some measure of control back. And remember, they got to run a government. They no longer have to cater to the mob any longer. Running a government is far more difficult than overturning one. And when they realize that the one way of doing it is to ensure the good relations with India, is an absolute necessity for them. If this is maintained, that is when this government can continue, and maybe that new Bangladesh we are looking for will take shape. If not to the Awami League, maybe some other party. But Real politics dictates that good relations with India are essential for Bangladesh far more than it is even for us. And I'm reasonably confident this sound common sense will finally take root.
Well, I'm not so confident about it. Yeah, at least the kind of rhetoric that is coming out of Bangladesh right now, it seems they are driving their own country to basically over the edge. And the thing is that, but what about the terrorist threat? Given that many of these terrorists, basically Jamaat people and Jamaat funded, and there are Hizbut Tahrir and all, so many terrorist groups are there. Now that they are very much free, threatening India, and as I said, given the border is so porous, Bangladesh
Yes.
is a major security threat for us.
Yes, that it is. The Islamist angle, I totally agree. The fact that the Islamist fundamentalist groups have been given a free reign in what you correctly identified as an open, porous border between India and Bangladesh, that is a very dangerous law and order situation for India. That I totally agree with you.
So what should India do? Read the Rat Act to Yunus.
I think we are already subtly doing it. We're already subtly doing it. If you take a look at it, we stopped sending electricity to them a few months ago. And they have been told in no uncertain terms, this new government, the choice of relations which you choose to have with India is your call. If you decide to have friendly relations, we'll extend more than a hand forward. If you decide to have not so friendly relationships, the consequences will be more severe for us. And that is why, in the terms of real politics, it would take place after a while. But that radical Islamist element which you talk about, which is uncontrollable and I would say not logical or rational in any way, they are the ones that will be kept at bay.
So how do you think the Bangladesh-Pakistan relations growing? I mean, right now it
Okay.
seems to be all very hunky dory. They're trying to revive it in a big way.
I tell you what, I think there was a line I wrote in your own paper, of which you yourself edited so nicely, in which I wrote, with the so-called rapprochement between Bangladesh and Pakistan, they have even tried to do away all that happened in 71. Incidentally, today is 25th March, is the launch of Operation Searchlight, when the Pakistani army went into Dhaka and began that massacre of the students. I hope you're going to carry a piece on that and bring awareness of what really happened there, right? But the thing is, history also have tried to erase these incidents that have taken place, erase the role of India in their freedom struggle, erase the role of Mijupuram, everything. They may try to remove the version of history. Can they remove the dictates of geography? Pakistan and Bangladesh are separated by 1800 kilometers of Indian territory in between. A good traveling from Bangladesh to India has to move maybe 100 kilometers. It has to move 2000 kilometers to reach out there, if they have goods at all, in any case, to sell. Also, what can Pakistan offer them? I know you're going to say they just sent 50,000 tons of rice to Bangladesh. Am I right? It all came out, my goodness, look how hunky dory they are. They sent 50,000 tons of rice to Bangladesh recently. The first shipment landed, I think, a month ago. You know how much rice India has sent to Bangladesh in this year alone? 450,000 tons. So, like I said, you can do away with history. I mean, as a historian, you can try to push another carpet, which we see happening so often here as well. But can you do away with the dictates of geography? That's something we have to keep in mind. That's why, though I know there are a lot of naysayers and pessimists, but unless really Bangladesh goes, totally awry, beyond control, up into the Afghanistan way and worse, unless that happens, yeah, I think sensibility and sanity would return.
Okay, my last question. So, do you think that India is in control of the situation? Control, because given that both sides, the eastern and the western border, they have become so restive, and apart from that, the China is anyway breathing down our neck. Are we in control of the situation?
Excellent. Excellent, Joyeeta. You always ask me questions which keep me ticking. Now, we are not in control of the situation because those nations themselves are not in control of that situation. But so far, we are handling it reasonably well. Pakistan, yeah, like I said, we are leaving them to stew in their own juices and keeping the fallout reasonably at bay. Our foreign policy has succeeded in isolating it completely. So I would say we are no longer hyphenated with Pakistan at all. In Bangladesh, our major failure was the intelligence failure, in which our agencies did not realize the extent of anti India sentiment that exists in Bangladesh. And the fact that there was a coup against Sheikh Hasina could not have taken place overnight. It had been planned for months. How is it that we were caught napping? That was the failure. Otherwise, I would say the present policy which we are following is one of wait and watch. Something which, if you remember, the same wait and watch policy was followed with the Taliban when they took over Afghanistan, when everyone prophesied doom for India, that the embassies and consulates out there are going to be set aflame. But real politics and sensibility did take over, didn't it, after a while? So, with Bangladesh, yeah, let's wait and watch. Make sure that iron, the what do they say, that iron fist in a velvet glove approach is always there. Have an atmosphere of give and take. Keep a security interest paramount always. That means one of the non-negotiables will be that their soil cannot be used for terror attacks against India, nor can the Islamic fundamentalists be allowed to have free reign, and gradually work our way to establishing a balance in the new regime as well.
Yes, thank you. Although I do differ on one point, because now we are saying no. Now we are saying that we knew, and any observer of Bangladesh knew the kind of anti-India sentiments that are there. You should see what they have been doing. For years, whenever it
Yes.
comes to cricket, oh my God, they come out with their fangs out kind of crowd, the kind of radicalization, brainwashed population that country has. But otherwise, I mean, thank you, Mr. Singh, for this very debating conversation. And
Thank you. We shall see what are predictions, how far they come true, and in which direction things take a turn. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure being on your show, like it always is, and I've truly enjoyed it.
thank you, Mr. Singh. Thank you, viewers, for watching. Until the next time.